Episode 15, Ancestors. Fenrir and Guinevere examined the glowing red runes on the massive stone door. She felt that she knew them intimately, but she had no words to describe their function. "The spell seals the door," Guinevere said in her best approximation of the truth. "It appears to have 2 lodestones. "And a mundane lock, as well," Elidas pointed out. Searching around the door revealed 2 blood-stained chutes that presumably led into the room beyond. Following the red carpet back from whence they came, they take a different door. The long hall beyond is slowly uncovered. Flickering black shadows, drenched white skulls, and bone that lined the walls. They check each door as they pass. The first is locked. The next, an empty room, seen before. The third's second door was the only thing of importance in the room. Lamentations could be heard from beyond the door. Fenrir entered the room, exclaiming, "Who there? You all right?" "My bones. Where are my bones?" a voice rasped, repeating itself over and over again. 2 angel statues stood tall over the open sarcophagus, which contained naught but dust and ash. "My bones. Where are my bones?" chased the party out of the room. The next door they entered was the last door in this hall, but not the last to be checked. Beyond was a circular room and a circular stone. Upon the surface of the stone was oil. Upon the surface of the stone, oil was held in a carving of the word protect. Fenrir moved to torch it. "Halt!" a voice bellowed. From the stones, seeping from the gaps and the cracks, came a man of blue and purple light. His toga vanished into shreds as it flowed like slow fire. "Mine descendant has forbid the lighting of this stone. Flee now, Tanglebeard, or face mine wrath." Fenrir scratched his shaved chin. "Hello, I am Fenrir. I apologize for interrupting your vigil," he said politely. "I believe my name was once Marcus." "Strange door, locked by blood magics in your tomb. I think something wrong here. After all, blood magic is heresy to Utendemen. No?" "It matters not that the seal is of dark arts. The seal was made, and the plea was answered." "With northern heretics in your opening hall and demonkin roaming about, your concern is with your descendants' fears, instead of what dark things hide here." The phantom considered. "I would not break mine word. I would forge it in steel and carve it in stone for one of my own family. I cannot allow thee to burn the oil. I would like to speak with mine descendant, have him come and explain these oddities, and we shall see then." Giving up on this path, Fenrir tried another. "So, if I bring demon here, you kill it?" "Yes, after it kills you." Fenrir frowned. "Why?" "It is not for me to fight the battles of a man I know not. Also, you're a Kraken man, not Tendemen." Fenrir grumbled, then, out of simple curiosity, asked, "How you die?" Marcus looked off to the north. "I was hunting. The winds howled, and the beasts were quiet. We didn't know they were there. till the tundra wolves had their teeth on us. We killed many, but I was dead at the end of it." Imp's wings beat through the last door at this end of the hall. Guessing that the room was connected to the first they had entered, Fenrir trotted around to that end, and the players pincered the monsters within. Fenrir quickly felled a suitor, and the rest a crawling devourer, only for the imps to fall to ghosts as they swarmed from the walls. They vanished as soon as they came, leaving only the corpses of demonkin behind. Footfalls echoed as the players returned to the hall and marched to the far end, another room with a raised circular stone. However, this stone's groove was dry, and the word was secret instead of protect. A hole was in the center of the room. They returned to the hall. 3 skulls sat, flanked by urns and with no other bones around them. The other skeletons all had various other bones around their skulls. Curious, Elidas shifted a skull aside and found a passage beyond it. Past a room of little interest, a vast stone sarcophagus featured a 7-horned crown, rather than the circlets that they had all seen before. Glimmering in the torchlight were piles of silver and copper coins, along with a fine doublet. Out of curiosity, Fenrir opened the lid to the coffin. He saw within bones shrouded in rags and resting in ash. The corpse wore a crown of 7 horns, and it was set with sapphires. 7 horns? Elidas asked, the memory of the creature in the tower rising to his mind. Elidas peered into the coffin. "Fenrir, the crown clearly has 6 horns." "Huh?" Confused, Fenrir leaned down and counted again. 7. There are definitely 7 horns. Guinevere, come count. "That's 7 horns," Guinevere said as she looked to Elidas with concern. "I got 6 too," said Malara. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, Fenrir said, pressing a finger to each of the horns. Elidas looked baffled. "You touched 6 horns, yet you counted 7. Malara nodded. Guinevere glared at the crown. "There are clearly 7. Minutes passed and the party crawled from the room, the debate undecided. Fenrir strode back down the hall. "Lord Ghost," he called, "how many horns does the crown on the man down the hall have?" 7, said Marcus, sounding a little confused. "I trust Ghost. He live here entire life," said Fenrir to the others. Elidas raised a finger to point out the ghost was dead, and had likely spent his whole unlife here. But Fenrir continued. "We meet other ghost, who was missing bones. You know where?" "Alas, I know not where the bones of poor Gregor lie." "Thank you," said Fenrir, as he left again. Taking the door on their right, they returned to the room where the ghosts had helped by slaying the imps. There he asked for aid from the ghosts. "Hello, Lord Ghost?" "Yes," said a pompous, nasally voice. "We search for bones of Lord Gregor. You happen to know where they are?" "I did see a giggling imp run about with them, but no." "You know how to open stone door at end of cross hall?" "No." "The large door halfway down that hall?" "No," the ghost said smugly. Abandoning the questions, Fenrir said, "You help with demon spawn here. You help elsewhere?" "I don't know. It is quite messy in my room." "Help us, and I will get the blood and corpses out of here." said Fenrir. All right. As Fenrir hauled the corpses with the help of Charlotte, and mopped blood with the help of the northerner's clothing, the rest decided to explore the last room in this half of the tomb. The statue within stood as if resting its hands on a sword, but no sword was to be found. Fenrir rejoined them as they find another long hall on the opposite side of the cross-shaped room. Rubble blocked one end. A soft, pained moan could be heard from beyond the door. Curious, the party entered. Within, a man was bloated with blood till the swells were larger than his body. He crawled forward. Elidas put him out of his misery. The suitors and imps proved little challenge without their numbers. Strangely, a suitor had held a blade of steel instead of bone. They returned to the incomplete statue and placed the blade under its hands. They then found that it could be moved. Within were more sarcophagi. Guinevere, curious, decided to try and open a tomb. At which point, the room shook with a ghost's voice. "You dare!" Guinevere panicked, shoved the coffin closed, and said, Sorry, just curious." She fled, only to find that the statue had been moved back in place behind them. "We were just curious, Lord Ghost," Fenrir said. "A glance is all we wanted, all we will take, and all we have gotten." They backed into the short hall of the room. Elidas heaved on the stone statue, and they were away. They went through another door on the rubbless end of the hall. As the party looked over the room, Fenrir felt a chill down his spine. He turned to see the ghost of a veiled woman. Her red eyes stared, hazy and unclear, into his. She was not more than an inch away from him. "She appears to be judging you," Elidas said. With his words, the ghost swirled to him, getting closer and closer. Elidas flinched, nervous sweat falling icily down his brow. The ghost scoffed and left him. She swirled away to glare at Guinevere. Gwyn glared back. Fenrir, seeing no end to this, snatched at the ghost from behind. After all, if a ghost could kill with a knife or spear, surely they could be touched. The ghost gasped in surprise as Fenrir held her in both arms. She was terribly cold. She suddenly lost physicality and slipped into Fenrir. After a moment of silence, Guinevere jested. "Hey, Fenrir, how does it feel to have a woman inside of you?" It felt cold. Strange. Seeing nothing else of interest, the party headed for the room at the end of the hall. There they found a singular spikier imp, and a stone that said, "Hidden." Charlotte hurtled toward the imp, but the floor beneath her gave out, and she fell with a single yip into the black of a deep pit. A crawling devourer slowly emerged from the pit, its maw gaping, and its sagging flesh mutilated by unusual twisting horns. Malara and Guinevere skirted around the devourer as Fenrir darted by it and into the pit, after Charlotte. The two women swiftly flanked and slew the imp. Elidas spotted two more of the devourers under the remaining fake floor, and left one blubbering blood. But he himself felt the pain of his own blows. Some foul blood magic tore his insides as he struck. He retreated behind the door. The devourers burst forth and lay into Malara with tooth and claw. Guinevere saw the monsters towering overhead. Wild panic pushed her to act against the abominations, Blood burst forth in bolts that tear flesh. 2 devourers fell, the one that Elidas had injured, and another, unharmed, torn to shreds. Guinevere panted on her last leg, the blood magic's cost, and the cruel enchantment on the monsters, leaving her with little left of her vitality. Elidas finished the last of the beasts, and the party took a seat to breathe and drink their blood. Fenrir crawled out of the pit. Scrapes and blood covered him as he hauled Charlotte up. He gasped and fumbled with one of the monster's corpses as Charlotte licked his wounds. His own vial was used on the wolf, a feat only possible due to a joint implant. Guinevere knelt over the stone, slowly scooping oil from it into a water skin. "What we have left to do?" Fenrir asked, while petting Charlotte. "Gregor's bones." "Oil for the other stone. They do seem linked to the seals on the doors in the halls," said Guinevere. "Getting into those rooms is likely the way to unseal the stone door." Fenrir tore up an unlit torch, attempting to trick the stone that he had burned the oil. His attempt failed. "There are more rooms at the ruined end of this hall, and one just outside this door," Elidas said. The female ghost appeared then. She tugged on Fenrir's arm. Her icy guidance brought them to the door next over. They readied themselves while the door was closed. Elidas ducked an ear to it. "Seems quiet," he said. The ghost popped her head through the door. She gave a thumbs up to them and entered herself. Within, she hovered proudly above an open sarcophagus. Inside the sarcophagus were 2 sets of bones, one larger than the other. They took the larger bones to Gregor's tomb. Wisps of blue and purple light trickled, then streamed from the stone. About the coffin, a towering ghost formed, his physique clearly Eastman. He shook his head and blinked. "Many thanks. Witch hunters, I presume?" The regal ghost didn't wait for an answer. "I must lend you what little aid I can for your unprompted salvation." "I sure you have noticed that tomb infested with demonkin," Fenrir said. "We think they here because what lies beyond stone door. Other ghosts prevent us from opening it." "I shall speak with them on your behalf. The presence of imps and demonettes angers me. If they may be purged, a rest we may return to," the Ghost King mused. The ghost followed them as they returned to the room with the protect stone. Gregor floated through the door and declared, "It has come to my unfortunate attention that demonkin desecrates our tomb. This heresy is most vile, and I would put an end to it. I believe the door, sealed by a descendant, has something to do with this travesty." "Gregor, it is good to see you sane again," said Marcus. "And I am thankful to be sane, with the aid of these valiant witch hunters," Gregor said while gesturing at Fenrir. "Purging this holy place should be quick and easy as flame through dry grass. But we need this door open to know what truly lies there. The witchcraft upon it blocks our entry." Marcus looked suspiciously at the party, then sighed. "It would be my honor to aid you, Gregor. A request from family must be fulfilled, and I too am curious what our descendant hides." And so the oil burned. They brought the oil from the hidden room to the room with secret carved into its stone. Fire burned. Something clicked, and they were let into the door at the center of the hall. There was a pedestal shaped like a bird bath with an iron spike at its center. A skull rested at the base of the spike, and witchcraft painted the dish. Guinevere examined it.
"This is a lodestone," she said. "Just needs some blood and it'll let go."
She looked at the ghosts, keeping her face as blank as possible.
"Least that's what I think will happen."
The female ghost popped out of Fenrir and tried to slam her hand onto the spike. This was terribly ineffective.
"Living blood. It needs to be living blood,"
said Guinevere. So each of the party pricked their fingers on the spike, and the dish seemed to glow as it filled. On their way to the other hall, they noted that some of the runes on the stone door had faded. The party found the fourth stone with the word Passions in the last corner of the tomb. There, too, fire burned.
Okay, but where's the rest of the oil? Since none of us brought any,"
Guinevere asked. "Seasoned salt, if I know," cursed Fenrir. Sometime later, Fenrir made his way back to the secret room and let a bucket down on a rope. He found water. Frustrated, he asked the ghosts, "Is there any oil here?" The wraiths stuck their heads through the walls till the female one gestured. She hovered proudly again over the hole in the center of the room. She made a wrist-cutting motion and held the wrist above the hole. Fenrir got an imp. After dragging the oil that had been poured into the word secret all the way to the exact opposite side of the tomb, the party trudged into the room with the second pillar. Fenrir strode forth and thrust his hand upon the spike, not wanting to wait for the rest to offer sacrifice. The runes were gone, but the door was locked, and the players' picking abilities were lacking. The party was flustered, tired, and frustrated. The ghosts, all but for the woman attached to Fenrir, floated through the door. Gregor cried out, "What is this? Heresy! Abomination! Die!" A clamor began. The wet slap of flesh on bloody stone, the sickening crunch of bone, and hideous hacking of flesh. But there was another sound, one of far greater horror. It was a sort of tearing, like fabric or squealing steel, like the rustling of leaves if they were made of screams. Through the lock, a silhouette danced amongst the dim light of the ghosts. It was large and thorny, with a long whip of blood that lashed back and forth, tearing into the ethereal essences of the ghosts with every sweep. The sound followed the whip's snap. The discordant agony of a ghost as it was utterly destroyed. Sparking blue essence filled the room, the corpses of the long dead souls. The silhouette retreated to an altar of stone at the apex of the room. She lowered herself slowly into it. Knowing no other way into the room, the lock beyond any of their skill with a pick, and no key locations known to them within the tomb, Guinevere does the only thing she can think of. She knocked. There was a splash and the patting of wet feet as the entity got closer and closer. Soon the keyhole was black with her form. Then a horrible creaking and cracking began as flesh twirled out of the keyhole. A finger, a set of fingers with long bone-like nails, the knuckles and thumb, the palm, and the eye that opened on it. A voice came through the door.
"Hello, little sister,"